Okay, this is part 3 of my lectures, Physical Reality. Okay, so I was going to say something completely different from what I was saying before, not exactly the exact opposite. No, I'm not going to do poetry. I'm going to tell you that I do this sometimes. I go into silence because words do not translate. Words are, as I said in a previous lecture, partially useful. And even when I give you silence, most likely you're not picking up on what I'm getting at. And I'm not getting at anything because I'm not sending you anything. There's the old Zen idea that you can do a silent transmission of mind. There is silent transmission of telepathy. But what I was just doing there was no telepathy going on. But I know because I do get some of these silent, in other words, there's nobody there talking to me, but I get it in my mind. So that's real, but I wasn't doing anything. So if you felt like you were getting something or looking at me and I'm not saying anything, it's coming to you directly. It's not coming through me. Okay? And do we ever go from body to body transmission? I don't know. I've never done it. It always comes to me from unknown places. But, I don't have any examples of me talking by telepathy to another physical being. Maybe you have, but I have not. But I do have telepathy with other beings, and they sometimes send me pictures, mind to mind, voices, mind to mind. And I don't know. Once you start watching sci-fi, we're in a universe that, well, if the CIA is correct, 3.5 billion years old. And, think about how much could be advanced in 3.5 billion years. Or maybe it's a made up number and all there is now. Old sci-fi books talked about in the future you would go into the movie theater, and in the movie theaters would be called feelies. In other words, you just didn't watch the screen for the movement of the characters and listen to them. We've got primitive feelies now. You can sit at the back row of some of the movie theaters and, the chair bounces around like that. But, they're not giving you feelies. But your everyday reality is a feely movie. And you were never told that you were in a movie. And this body is running around inside a reality, and it's a feely, it's a movie. And for most people, it is conditioned and programmed so that they do the same thing, and it's like the computer controls them. It's only when you realize that you are, that your body is running around pre-programmed. A lot of times it has to do with, the regular things humans do. They get a job and they do back and forth to the job, and they go to the grocery store, they go to the liquor store, or they go to their mother's house for dinner on Sunday. It's totally predictable. It's totally predictable. But once you have recognized that, you're basically no different than a computer-generated character. There's no spontaneity in your life. It's totally predictable. 6 months from now, someone could say, well, if it's, 11 o'clock in the morning, they're going to be sitting at their desk at their office, the same place. And people have these jobs. Some people have these jobs for their whole life. So, they're not living. So if you decide after watching this video that you don't want to be part of this pre-programmed reality, well, you have to disconnect and become a fringe dweller, as the writer Stuart Wilde called them, beings that are considered crazy by the people who are plugged into. It's basically, as some people say, the Matrix movies with Keanu Reeves are basically a documentary on planet Earth. and to try and get people to wake up to this reality. Well, sometimes you can even catch them for a moment and say, how much this world is just like the Matrix. And, for a moment their eyes might open and go, yeah, but you'll see them, at the same place again a week later, and their eyes are glazed over. They haven't figured it out. Or maybe, I can't remember which one is which. There's the red pill and the blue pill. One is you stay in the Matrix, and one is that you exit the Matrix. And, maybe they decided to stay because it's maybe easier, especially if they like to get drunk all the time, and, But even, when you're aware of it, and, your body does its thing, it's not doing the same thing as everyone else, something has come in and it's still quite dull and boring in this matrix, but you are available for, and whatever runs this body, it's testing the people that appear to be unawake, testing them to see if they've got any curiosity at all, and it uses me to test them. That's what I'm here for. I'm a communication device, and for me it's incredibly dull and boring, because the unawake people, I don't have a lot of opportunities to test them. There's a lot of me waiting around, tapping my feet, waiting for another opportunity to test to see if they are ready to wake up. Incredibly boring job. It's incredibly boring. And so there you have it. The ones that are awake, who are still here, and I don't know, some people, if they've got a lot of money, I think that they run away. They get in a sailboat and they get away from all the boring humans. And if you don't have a lot of money, then maybe you're like me, and, your body just goes around looking for people who have got questions. And, if I see people, I don't always say, do you have a question? And sometimes they say, well, you're the oracle. All right, you know what an oracle is. You ask a question of the oracle. And if there's no question forthcoming, then, well, you've got one piece of the puzzle. I'm the oracle. But you have to ask questions of the oracle. And I'm not going to keep, it's not me, but the beings that have me here, I'm not going to keep prompting you. What's your question for the oracle? I'm the oracle. The oracle is here for you to ask questions to. And I will always give you something. I might run away, but I will always give you something. And you can always come back and say, why did you run away? And I will give you an answer. But I'm not going to lecture you unless you ask me a question. You have to ask me. The best question is a specific question, not like, if you got 10 questions, then write it down on a list. And wait till you get the first question answered, and then, or give me the list, and I'll go down the list, and I'll see what order they're going to answer them for. Maybe they'll give you a different lecture altogether, what you really need. But you have to come to me and ask me a question. Be specific. And, a good question. If you give me the same question that you're going to ask, when's your birthday? Don't ask me that kind of a question. Don't ask me personal questions about this body, because it's irrelevant. Ask me questions about the nature of reality, or who I am, or who you are, or what am I supposed to be doing? What am I good at? How can I serve? How can I help? How can I get out of my boring job and my boring routine? Give me your view on what you see when you see me. Ask me specific questions, but don't ask me, what did you do 20 years ago? When's your birthday? What do you like in other people that you want to date? I don't date. I'm not here to be someone's marriage partner or whatever. Would I like that? Only if they're awake. I don't find anyone awake. If you want to be awake, ask me a good question. I'm Rumpelstiltskin.